With today's political climate and wars popping up all over the globe, it's not a bad idea to have a few extra supplies on hand at all times. So today we're going to cover a few categories of items that are probably a good idea to stock up on. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Kiev, close, intense fighting. We fear another strike is coming.
And tensions are on the rise in East Asia.
So number one on my list would be ammo. And that's probably not a surprise considering that this is a gun YouTube channel. But it's always good to have a surplus of ammo on hand. Now, I don't foresee us out, fighting in the streets of mainland USA, but conflicts all around the globe will limit the supply of ammo, and people, when they see new wars start or, unrest in certain areas of the world, they go and buy more ammo, and that brings down the supply and always takes up the price. So it's always a good idea to have extra ammo on hand. And even when you do run into these ammo shortages where, you go into Bass Pro Shop and there's no ammo on the shelf, you still have some at home where you can shoot like normal and you don't have to really alter your training styles or your training frequency, because you still have some at home to dip into that reserve. So always a good idea to have a little bit of extra ammo on hand. So another good thing about ammunition is that it has no shelf life. If you buy it now, it'll last you 40, 50, 60, 100 years even. So if you buy extra ammo now and you end up not needing it, or there's no ammo shortage, you'll still have it and it's not gonna go bad. So, think of it just like it's an investment: gold, silver, bullets, maybe not to that extreme, but the ammo investment that you make now, you're going to continue to have that product for a long time. And next up on the list, we have food. So, I'm not the first to tell you that you need to have extra food at home so that you can survive in case of an emergency, but you would probably be surprised at the amount of people that don't have but 2 to 3 days of food in their house at any given time. So, starting off 2 weeks of food in your house is where I would start at a bare minimum. More like 2 months is where I'd feel comfortable starting, but that's up to you as a person. Like I said, I'm not the one to tell you to have extra food at your house. You probably already know that. But then you have your long-term food options, like your MREs, your freeze-dried food and stuff like that. And I like these for my packs in vehicles and even at my office at work. I have these SOS emergency food rations, and these are about 5 years of shelf life. And this brick right here has 3,600 calories. So, I have these in all my, my day pack and my quote bug out bag, if that's even a real thing in 2024 still. But, 3,600 calories in something that takes up, this amount of space is pretty good. So, you could live 4 or 5 days off of this. You're not going to be full and completely energized, but you'll be alive. But yeah, these are pretty cool. And, your Mountain House freeze-dried food, your ReadyWise, like long-term 20-year storage options, those are good. But just have something that you could live a few weeks off of if need be. So, people they think, that'll never happen. But I mean, if we just take a look back the last 4 or 5 years when the whole pandemic started, I went in a grocery store and I saw the shelves completely empty. And I never thought that would be something that I would see living in the south of the U.S. So that was pretty eye-opening. So since then, I've always been very mindful to keep extra food at the house, just to let those trucks keep rolling in and get the shelves restocked a little bit. Because, I don't suspect the grid to ever go down, hopefully. But, there may be a 2 or 3 week period where, everything that hits the shelf is sold just like that. So you may need that buffer so that you can go back to the store and stock back up. But in the meantime, you're not going to be hungry because you weren't prepared. So it's always good to have a little extra food on hand at all times. And next we have water. So water may even be more important than food, just because you need more of it more frequently. But water is a very important thing to have on hand. So eventually, when you turn the faucet on, it's going to run out. So you have to have steps in place to prevent that. And if you live in a city, you can only have so many cases and gallons of water in your house before you run out. I mean, it's just an inevitability. So you have to have some type of source. You don't have to have it, physically right beside you, but you have to have some type of plan. If my water runs out I'm going to do this or that. So luckily, you know, behind me, I have access to this pond. But if I go, you know, stick a straw in there and drink that, you know, it's probably going to be very bad for me. So I have to find a way to purify this water. So, you know, if you live in the city, if you live in the country, you have the same type problem. So, you know, cases and bottles of water, 2 to 3 weeks worth of supply is what I try to have on hand, you know, like 10, 15 cases. So, I mean, if you're inside, you know, not exerting yourself, you don't need as much water as if you're working outside, you know, doing yard work type thing. So it's always a good idea to have water on hand. You know, it doesn't even have to be that extreme of a situation where you need water on hand. You know, a county's water can become contaminated with something, or, you know, it's not a total grid down situation where you may need to have extra water. So it's just always something to think of. You know, again, I'm not the first one to tell you that you need to have extra water on hand. You probably already know that, but it's important, so I think it's worth mentioning. A funny thing about the water is that, you know, when you think of the word prepper, you think of guns, ammo, you know, defensive equipment, offensive equipment. But, you know, water is one of those things that really nobody pays attention to. It's not fun to, you know, prepare and get a bunch of water. But, you know, if you run out of water in 3 days and you dehydrate to death, the 20,000 rounds of ammo you have in the basement is going to do you no good. I mean, you're not even going to get to shoot a single round of it before you're dead from dehydration. So water is a very, very vital piece of any preparedness plan. And lastly, we have our energy category. And this covers anything from propane, gasoline, diesel, just any type of fuels that you may need to, you know, power your generators, power your heavy equipment if you have it, power your grills, your camp stoves, anything like that. So, you know, your 5-gallon propane jugs if you have a gas grill or some type of cooktop, it's always good to have a couple of those on hand, you know, just because, you know. Again, it's not a grid down situation, but you could be grilling and your bottle goes out and you have to refill it. It's just something as simple as that. In the propane, they come in the big 5-gallon tanks, and they also have the little green camping canisters, and it's always a good idea to have a few of those on hand too. So, and then you have your gasoline. High percentage of us drive gasoline vehicles. Some of us drive diesel vehicles, but it's always a good idea to have, you know, 10, 15 gallons on hand extra, because, you know, a couple years ago we had the gasoline shortage on the east coast of the United States, where hackers infiltrated a network and they shut down hundreds of gas stations across the country where they did not see, you know, what amount of gas was going to each station. So the stations just quit ordering gas, and there was a hard time finding gasoline where I live for several weeks. So, you know, again, it's not an end of the world situation where you may need 5 gallons of gas to put in your truck to get a few more days down the road, but it's just, you know, stuff that we deal with in the 2020s. So luckily I had some gas on hand, and I was able to fill up a little bit so that I could give it a few days and let the situation kind of work itself out, and then I could go fill up like normal. So it's just a good idea to have extra on hand in case you need it. You know, it's the old saying, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You know, it's cliche, you've heard it a million times, but it's true. And going along with the energy category, you have your batteries, battery packs, and even your small solar USB rechargeable stations. So, you know, if you have weapon lights, flashlights, night vision, stuff like that, you're going to need batteries. And if you have rechargeable batteries, that's even better, but you have to have a way to recharge the rechargeable batteries. So that's where your solar, small solar panel USB charging stations come into play. Those are really good to have on hand, and, you know, just a good stockpile of regular non-rechargeable batteries, AA, AAA, CR123, and even a few 9 volts is good to have on hand. And also your little small pancake batteries that are going to power your aim points, your pistol red dots, and sights and optics like that. So figure out all the different battery sizes you have and get probably 3 or 4 sets of backups just to keep on hand, be a solid, a good place to start on those. But yeah, batteries in some situations are as important or more important than fuel itself, like gas or diesel. So to wrap up this video, you know, it should not take a conflict halfway around the globe to get us all motivated to be prepared. You know, this is something that we should have been doing already, and that as, you know, prepared armed citizens, we should always have some level of preparedness. But if that's what it takes to get you spurred into action to get prepared, then so be it. So let us know down in the comments what you think about our list, and what would you add to it? What do you guys think is important that we did not cover here today? So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe if you would, and we'll see you guys in the next one. But for now, it's doing me just fine. So what I really love about this gun is the trigger. We have a Geisley SSAE super semi-automatic enhanced trigger, and this thing is just excellent. So you have like it's a 2-stage trigger. You have like a 2-pound take up, and then like a one